We are going live. All right, sorry about that. Clubhouse, Instagram. I had to step out of the office. We got a few people in the backstage. I just hit the live. We give it a few minutes to let people get in here on all the other platforms we are streaming on. Thanks for joining. To the Pop Brothers at Law live stream talk radio podcast. Joining me and my big brother today. We go live every Thursday at noon Pacific time. Our show is brought to you proudly by Rocket Seeds. Check out rocketseeds.com where you can get high quality seeds legally through the mail, shipped. We made the opinion a couple years ago. The DEA finally agreed with us. Rocketseeds.com. Go check them out. And today on the Pop Brothers at Law live stream talk radio podcast, we are talking about East Coast cannabis. We have some very special guests I will be introducing in just a moment. Please go follow us on Instagram at pot_brothers_at_law. Same tag at TikTok. You can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. We are all over and all over several Facebook pages as well. And for those who don't know, I am Mark Wasserman, together with my big brother Craig. We're known as the Pot Brothers at Law, California attorneys handling all areas of cannabis business licensing and regulations, as well as all areas of criminal defense. Because of our large social media presence, we have been able to develop a worldwide attorney referral network system where we can potentially hook you up with good, honest, ethical attorneys around the globe. Most importantly, as you might know, we teach people how to peacefully engage with law enforcement by using 25 simple words known as the script, and to shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. We have trademarked and copyrighted the script and shut the fuck up for legal services. And with that, we're going to get into our show. We have very special guests talking about East Coast cannabis. Big Brother is actually on the phone working. I'm going to bring in Matt Cuman and Leo Bridgewater, friends of the show, no strangers to the show. Matt Cuman, attorney extraordinaire. Leo Bridgewater, vet, advocate, activist. I could go on and on. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Matt, how you doing today?
Great, and nice to meet you, Leo. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, bro.
Great.
For real.
Two guys that I've been wanting to get together. Probably would have been sooner, but for the pandemic. Great minds on both sides with a lot of different things. And Matt has been in the cannabis struggle, I dare say, since the beginning, going back, 1996 and even before.
That's when I joined, but things didn't really get cooking until we started to see the dispensaries and everything in California started to move. But I was there and jumped in early on. It's funny, Mark. When someone said medical marijuana to me in 1995 or 6, I was like, "What? What's medical marijuana?" I really never thought of it that way. Honestly, but long time.
We've come a long way. You've been in the fight. Leo's been in the fight. Things have been happening and moving on the East Coast. And, I had been there. We've been there. We visited since the adult use started, and the regulations are starting to come about. And my fear is that New York is going to do what everybody else did and what California is doing. It's going to be all fucked up. Tell me how I'm wrong, or tell me how we're going to fix it. Let's start with Leo, who's been in this over on Jersey and very integral in what's happening on the East Coast. Give our viewers a little quick background on who you are, and let's get into what's going on in the cannabis fight right now.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Matt. Good to meet you again. Again, everybody, my name's Leo Bridgewater. Amongst other things, I am the National Director of Veterans Outreach with Minorities for Medical Marijuana. And I also am a partner with Heart Community Capital, where we, partner with social equity license holders in New York and in Massachusetts and New Jersey to get, access to capital where we can, get these businesses already activated entities moving forward and progressing. In terms of what's happening here, on the East Coast. I live in Trenton, New Jersey, and so having testified in Senate committee for PTSD, getting that done with Governor Chris Christie, and then also advocating on getting more allowable conditions for the expanding the medical marijuana program here in New Jersey. This past November, we've since legalized for adult use. Adult use sales began on 4/21 here in the Garden State, and we've already started with the licensing of cultivation for retail, and we're currently in RFAs now for those two. Delivery and everything else will be coming next month, I think. If the schedule's right, I see it because they've been releasing these RFAs every quarter. And so we're due for the next group of RFAs, which I think would be for delivery and transportation and processing and all that stuff. So I'm not processing, but distribution. So what's happening now? Why I think it would be different than in California? I think that the reason why things will be a little bit different is because, when you think about what happened out west, be it Colorado, California, Oregon or Washington State, there were a number of licenses, hundreds of licenses that were issued out before a social equity component was a part of the equation. And a lot of it was done on a municipal level. Well, here in New Jersey, the social equity component was actually a part of the actual changing of the laws. And so rather than, trying to get folks in, having a social equity component a part of the equation, in the beginning, it's more of a floor than it is a ceiling as opposed to how it is in out west. And then when you look at the makeup of the regulatory authority here in New Jersey, which is called the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, when you look at the makeup of that commission fresh out, it screams social equity from the top down. And so when we, instead of having other people define what social equity is for people who look like me, you actually have people who look like me actually doing it in the very beginning. And so these are all aspects, and things that I think that fresh out you've never seen, which I do believe, which makes New Jersey ground zero for the next evolution of the cannabis industry. We're only, as of today, we are 15 months ahead of New York in terms of having already established regulations, whereas in comparison to New York is currently building out their regulations. And so this is a rather unique area. It requires us to think more of take a regional approach rather than have it defined by state lines. There are certain nuances to this area that you would have to live here in order to know. For instance, most people don't know that people in New York actually do their shopping in New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? They come here to get their cigarettes, and people in New Jersey actually buy their cigarettes in Pennsylvania. But people in Pennsylvania and New York come to New Jersey to get their gas. And it's not unusual for someone to go from Philadelphia to New York every day for work. Matter of fact, it's people that go from DC to New York every day for work. And those are things that tourists wouldn't know. And those are the little fine nuances that you would have to live here in order to know. So there's this natural interstate commerce that takes place that's been here for generations. And so taking a regional approach, it would be wise to look at it in terms of your business strategy, because again, New Jersey is the most densely populated state in the country. We have a population of 9 million people. We get 100 million visitors a year, and we are sandwiched between the number 4 media market in the country, which is Philadelphia, and the number 1 cannabis consuming city in the world, which is New York City. And so taking all of these factors into place, it does warrant thinking a little bit differently and pointing out the differences between California or out west, period, the West Coast versus the East Coast.
Very good. That's That's great coming from somebody who's just right down in the middle of it, in the fight for years, and you've seen the progression. Matt, Mr. Cynical Matt. My friend here rightfully so, rightfully cynical, my friend. I don't begrudge you. In fact, your cynicism has rubbed off on me. I've been touting for the last year. It's never going to be federally legal in our lifetime.
I'm just a cranky, grumpy old man. Come on, no, Mark, listen. In the years that I've been doing this, which is now 2.5 decades, this thing has been tremendous. I mean, it's the growth, the access that medical patients have, the access that adult users have. This thing is just fantastic. So there's no cynicism about any of that. And yes, it's slow, it's torturous, but the doors keep opening. Germany's legalizing, Chile will be legalizing. I mean, every continent is opening except for probably Asia, but Thailand is opening. I mean, this is fantastic. You guys are and you're younger than me, and you guys will be around longer and really see. So I am just nothing but optimistic. Now, but
there it is. There's the butt. That's a heavy butt coming.
And it's just a narrow, I mean, there's many ways. Obviously, I'm a critical person. I don't go, everything's great and wonderful. I mean, I look at things, but I try to be constructive, and I try to look at the past and try to say, well, and we did try to talk to people on the East Coast about the problems here, and some of that landed. And like Leo said, some of the states got it, and they needed to put social equity baked into the state law. Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas out here, we didn't have it baked in. We still don't have it baked in to our state law, other than where the revenue from cannabis goes in California goes to a lot of decent, good causes, but including sort of what you might call social equity causes. But ultimately, the issue is for the business people who want to make profit from cannabis, there's some tough news out there. And for legacy folks, we're having our, your timeline, Mark, is showing our series next week in our New York office. We're trying to get the legacy folks into the industry so they can have finally, like our guys in Humboldt said, I want to be part of the community. I want to go to a PTA meeting and tell the teacher what I do for a living and not my kids suffer for it. I'm in the cannabis business, normalizing, destigmatizing, this should be where it's all going. And actually you just brought in a Corupa. I'm back, who's running the New York office, and a Corupa, of course, this is Leo Bridgewater, and a Corupa. Hope you two guys get to meet each other in person at some point. But my point is, Mark, that the government's constant tension between they want to allow cannabis, but they don't want to allow cannabis. And, like in the New York regs that, Corupa has been, working on for us, the new first version of the New York regulation says that to get a license, you have to show 2 years of profit in a business. And it's like, what are you guys doing? You're just creating more barriers and restrictions. So if you want to make money in cannabis, you have to be prepared to really be patient. You're going to spend twice as much money as you think you're going to spend. You're going to have to put up with community opposition.
Uh-oh.
We lost Matt on some technical difficulty he might be having, but I know where he was going with community opposition and the people who are fighting against cannabis. We lost you there for a sec, Matt. Yeah. Are you back? So, right, so community opposition.
Community opposition, and ultimately, you have to really understand the detailed micro aspects of each of the subsectors of these markets if you want to play in them and, not lose your shirt or your investors' shirts. And if the social equity folks, who have done maybe our legacy, and that's been my practice for years, bringing people who are in the black legacy market, whatever you want to call it, unregulated, into the legal market, it's a tough transition. And we know that the black market is being propelled by the very government policies that were supposed to actually create incentives for legal markets and disincentives for black markets. But instead, by barring people, by restricting people, and by making all these regulations, what they're doing is they're keeping everyone out. And a lawyer friend of mine in New York, who's really cynical, said, well, that regulation that's dropped in New York was obviously pushed by people who have money, who are looking to restrict the market and who can come in. So, I mean, so the cynical side is more about the business side, but the political advocacy side, the the overall emergence of cannabis. I know people who take packaging and labeling from the legal market and they're using it in the legacy market. So the legacy market and the quote unquote unregulated market are merging. They're merging. Yep. And what's going to happen is this black market's going to come in just slightly below the price of the regulated market, which makes it really hard for a regulated market, honest, good faith person to try to make it when the government has set up this competition with the black market. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. And I'm disappointed in all of our elected officials for their lack of courage to really take the step that's needed to really make this thing thrive. Again, happy for the overall 25 years plus of emerging access by everybody, and very disappointed in the government's approach to this, which again comes from that, that policy of we do want it, we don't want it, and that ambivalence that creates. So I'm going to shut up and turn it back to you, Mark.
I want to throw out a question here. Maybe a Korapa can help out as well. What's the possibility? What's the possibility of us ever seeing regulators go to these guys? I met them in New York. I met the guys running the blocks for 20 years and making millions of. They're never going to go. Why should they? And I agree with, and just cannabis, talking about just the cannabis that circulated in those boroughs. I was at all of them and I saw it and I was amazed at the intricacy, the level of sophistication that was going on with the numbers. And I mean, these guys should be writing the regulations. Comment.
Well, so one of the things that I find to be very exciting, again, which pushes why I say, New Jersey is ground zero. You know what I'm saying? One of the things, because we did this through ballot referendum and the way our statute was written, our social equity canvas is literally blank, Mark. And one of the things that I got to give it to the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. Their director of diversity and inclusion is a gentleman named Wesley McWhite. All right. And his actual background is in HIV. So for him, when he says front lines, that's a different kind of front line than what me and you deal with. But we all know what that front line is. Okay. And his outreach is something that is to Matt's point is unprecedented. What Matt is saying needs to happen is actually happening right now. Our DIO is actually meeting with the very people that Matt says needs to be involved with this, and he's doing so in a very impactful way. I know this because I'm working with him on it, and there's going to be some things like that. That's the best part about this. There's a lot of things that need to happen. And listen, I was there to see the Iraqi people vote for the first time. I was there to see the Transitional National Assembly take their seats for the first time. And in all my experiences in working with General David Petraeus and Admiral Mike Mullins, here's the number one thing that I learned, Mark. The number one thing that I learned is that it is much easier to bring down a government than it is to actually run one. Okay? Mm-hmm. And this whole entire effort has been the single greatest real life civics lesson of my life. Okay. Yeah. As a kid, when I was growing up, there was this little cartoon short called Schoolhouse Rock. And
Yes.
they had these, a bill is a bill, and
I'm just a bill.
bill.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
only a bill,
Yeah.
and I'm living here on Capitol Hill.
Oh, Hill.
It's been
Yes,
a
you
long,
got it.
long.
Yeah.
Sorry. I get carried
That
away.
one.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, Mark, that shit need to be updated like a motherfucker for real. Because it ain't that damn simple. You know, it's hard as hell. To Matt's point, you know, it's a years, and I'm saying years plural, years long effort. You know, this is so not for the faint of heart. Not just the advocacy and the activism, but goddamn it, the business part of it all is so not for the faint of heart. You know, there are people, when you're talking about bringing people from the unregulated to the regulated market, there are so many things about the regulated market that they don't know, and you don't find out until you actually jump your ass into this shit, that it can be so intense, it's almost like a fucking turnoff. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why, and that's why we're coming to New York. We're putting on a series of free seminars. We only have a small conference room, so you have to register. But we're trying to give, as a law firm, free information. Corp has already met with people. We've already been linking people in New York City at the legacy level to our California people who are coming out because, let's face it, New York is, as you say, Leo, the largest cannabis consumer market in the world. Everybody wants a piece of it, right?
Yeah.
And what we're doing there is actually, we think that our 25 plus years of experience, not only in California, but Colorado and some other states I've worked in, that we can actually bring, a little bit of sense to everyone and say, hey, calm down, everybody. This thing is, let's, like you say, not for the faint-hearted. Let's look at what the road is. This is going to be a road. Let's get them ready for that. Because and advocate at the same time as a lawyer, as Leo, as you as an advocate and as a capital guy and everything. We have to go talk to the regulators constantly. That's part of the job of being in cannabis. You don't get to just make money. You got to actually work out there and do some activism and talk to people and explain and educate about medical use. I mean, we're still trying to explain to people about medical use.
Well, yeah, when you, like, Mark, you've heard me say this for years. We're not just talking about facilitating a cultural shift in how we view this plant. We're also talking about facilitating a massive, massive transfer of wealth. Yeah. Logistically, it almost can't be quantified. I mean, this industry, as long as it's been legal in California, up to this point, it's still, this industry is still in such a baby stage. Bro, we ain't even got an industry standard unit of measurement yet.
There's no industry standard.
I don't think until federal law changes, any of these things.
So Matt just basically said it'll never happen. But I want to know, Corp, what are you doing in New York? Tell us a little bit about what you do and what you have going on and what your stake in this fight is.
Right. So I come to this issue from a background of having worked in politics and in government. Spent several years in electoral politics. Worked in the New York City Council, and some other government agencies and offices. And so I come from it as, this is a new, highly regulated industry. My background is in dealing with government agencies. And that's really, I think, one of the values that I bring to clients here in New York is the connections, the understanding of how, regulators think, how regulations work, how government here in New York City and state works.
Gotcha. Now, here's what I want to see. I want to see nonviolent cannabis offenders who are jailed and imprisoned released right into jobs in the cannabis industry. Is that something that could be written into a regulation somewhere, as part of
they're written in the regulations here, Mark, in New Jersey. When it comes to the social equity program, it's minorities, women, veterans, and now formerly incarcerated. And you do not have to have your record expunged at the time you actually apply your
Well,
license here.
here's what I'm asking then specifically. Here's how I see it in my head. Prisoner gets released, walks out of jail, walks right over to his new employer, signs papers, goes home, gets 2 weeks worth of pay initial, whatever, an advance of some sort that doesn't have to be paid back. So he can get a place to live, get this and get that. Is that written into the regulations?
No, but that doesn't mean that it can't, because remember what I told you.
That's
Our
what I
social
want.
equity canvas is blank. And the one thing that has not come out here in New Jersey is our social equity program has not actually been rolled out yet. It's still being built as we speak. Now, the thing is that what New Jersey has is, first of all, New Jersey state tax on cannabis would be 6.25%, and municipalities get to add a 2% excise tax. Okay, so we're coming in at 8.25% for retail cannabis, right? Then there is also a cultivation excise tax. Now, the revenue from the retail sales is divided up between 70% goes to what is called impact zones, cities that are municipalities that are deemed impact zones, and then 30% goes to law enforcement to train what they call drug recognition experts. And that's a whole nother conversation, but we'll say that for later. You know what I'm saying?
I know.
But when it comes to the cultivation excise tax, 100% of that goes to the social equity program that is to be rolled out. And that excise tax is on a sliding scale. So as the market value of a pound of weed goes down, the excise tax goes up, and it's capped at $65. Okay? Now, because we are actually building that out right now, what it is that you're talking about is definitely something that can be brought up right now. This is that sweet spot because we have a DIO who is, actively trying to figure out all kinds of ways, so long as it doesn't come in conflict with the statute. Because what's different between New York and New Jersey is New Jersey legalized through ballot referendum, whereas New York did it from a legislative perspective. And to be quite honest with you, to legislatively legalize cannabis is a much better task than to do it through ballot referendum, only because legislatively legalizing cannabis like New York did means that the people are a part of all of the dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's. When you do it through ballot referendum, you're putting all of the ills of the cannabis industry and everything into a yes or no question. And depending on what everyone says yes to, then you're leaving it up to the politicians to come up with these answers. Now, here's the thing. In every level of government, you got two types of people. You got Jetsons and you got Flintstones. And you know who they are based off the words that they use. So if they still saying shit like gateway drug and all that, I already know we know more than them. It's like someone who still calls black people color. You know what I'm saying? Me and True were like looking like, what year are you? I mean, we ain't talked that way in years, right, bro? You know what I'm saying? So we already know. Now, here's the thing. Those two designators transcend race, religion, age, and more importantly, they transcend race, religion, gender, and more importantly, age, because there's some young-ass Flintstones out there. And as I go around, I'm finding out that there are some Jetsons who are pretending to be Flintstones because it's much more profitable for them to be a Flintstone than it is to be a Jetson. And you know who they are based off the words that they use, because they can't help themselves either. And so but what we're doing is we are asking a bunch of Flintstones to write the rules to a Jetsons game. And you know this to be true based off of, we have 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Out of that 560 something, only 150 said yes to this.
In California, we not only had the Flintstones, I think it was Dino the dinosaur that actually wrote it here in California. So I know what you're talking about. We have a bunch of people in the audience that have some Q&A we're gonna let go on and some comments. I'm gonna bring you gentlemen up. Please be respectful, kind, and courteous. That's really the only rules. Don't make me say shut the fuck up and kick you out. That's all. Otherwise, I'm pretty nice. So I know a few of you have been waiting. Let's go here. Add ya. And if you don't have video on, I will not and cannot add you. You're welcome to. Oh, there's B, who has put on a shirt. Thank you very much. All right, gentlemen, thanks for joining the live stream today. Pop Brothers at Law live stream, Talk Radio podcast. This is the Talk Radio version of it.
What up, Leo? True in the building.
What up?
Hey, guys. I don't have a headset. I hope that's not a problem.
You're good. What's your question, bud, or comment?
Well, kind of comment, but back in like 93 or so, I was arrested for distribution with intent, got a 4 flat for it. I only spent 4 months inside because I got out off on intensive supervision. But as these laws are all changing, now, this is a point where I wasn't selling big, to tell you the truth. I just knew a guy who knew a guy, and a buddy set me up with a buddy who wanted stuff, and I was the middleman, and yada yada. But here, they asked me to sell 6 pounds because 5 and above is a bigger crime, and of course, so I did. And my arrest record only has 5.5 pounds with it, and I know my triple B ain't off by that much. But it was, my question is, like, now that things are getting, and I'll put this in air quotes, legal, is that going to affect my status any?
Yeah. Well, what state are you in?
New Jersey. I live in New York now, but all that happened in New Jersey.
Yeah. So when the laws change around decriminalizing, or felonies now become misdemeanors, and misdemeanors infractions, then if you're affected by that, depending on where you are and what your municipality is doing, there are very few cities and counties that are doing it automatically. Some have, where it's like it's automatically happening. You don't have to do anything. A vast majority of others, you've got to go file, make a motion for the expungement or reduction or whatever the case may be. So I would suggest, you'd want to contact an attorney in your state to get the specific information on what needs to be done to clean up your record for a crime you committed long ago that is now no longer a crime. And if you reach out to us, we can tap into our worldwide attorney referral network system. And we certainly know people in the Jersey and the East Coast area, bud.
Okay.
And also records, like part of the delay in getting the legislation signed from Governor Murphy, was there was a fight between the executive branch of our state government and the legislative branch of our state government. And that was a part of that fight was about automatic record expungement. The governor felt as though the burden of record expungement should fall on the state. His thinking is that expungement can be so tedious that it actually turns people off. And so this big ass fight took place between him and the state legislature, because I think it was going to cost somewhere around $15 million to buy some sort of software or whatever that was to be distributed to every single police department so that they can automatically expunge these records. And he won. And so it didn't get actually implemented until February 22nd of 2021. So to Mark's point, when you contact some legal, your lawyer or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh, we lost you a little bit there. Leo froze up. Let's go over to President Trahan. What's your name and where are you from?
Can I ask one more question before we go with the STFU stuff?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, bud, go ahead. Give me your question.
Okay. So I recently lost my license, but not to the court I lost it. I can't find it. Now, if I get pulled over, can I use that method to avoid some tickets for that?
Well, you're not gonna have a license on you, which is most states a vehicle code violation, driving without your license. So that's a rock and a hard place, because you don't want to admit anything So, you know, that's becomes a personal decision on what you want to say and do about not having your license or just shutting the fuck up. Because the moment you say, I don't have my license, well, you admitted, and there's that, you know. So I would suggest not driving if you do not have a license or do not have your license on you.
I
That is
generally don't, but thanks for that.
that's the recommendation. No problem, bud. All right, president. Where are you a president from? So I can address you correctly. Name and where you're from.
All right, so my name is Chance, and I'm actually in Texas right now. I lived in Las Vegas for like 11 years off and on, and so I saw the end of prohibition there. And so my major concern, because I noticed you guys were talking about, you know, the things with the government getting involved and kind of just sticking their hand into the cookie jar really, really deeply. And what I saw with the Nevada end of prohibition is everything went really smoothly. And I mean, like they were like the dispensaries were booming. The first day it was out, like the line was outside of the store. It was down the sidewalk and around the building. I mean, people were waiting in the Vegas heat for marijuana. I mean, it was just crazy just to get into the store, just to see what it was like to buy from the store. And it just kept going and going and going. And there was never any kind of slowdown for the longest time until the Nevada legislature or the government, so to speak, they got involved and they decided that they wanted to be the ones to supply the marijuana. So not only are they doing sales tax, but they want to also have their hands on it and control where who is growing and where it's coming from. Now, I wasn't there. Like I didn't see the legislation like actually start to try to happen like that. But that's what I was told by the employees of the store, because I asked, I said, why are you guys running low? And that was their answer. And I was just like, whoa. Like how dare they try to step in and control who's growing and who's distributing and things like that. And that just blew my mind. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that up, and that's really kind of all I wanted to say here.
Matt, any comment? Leo, any comment before I?
Yeah, well, Nevada fucked up when they gave it to the beer company, the liquor industry, because they felt as though they had the better infrastructure to be able to distribute, but it wasn't that smooth of a transition, you know. And so what I could tell you, you know, Chance, is that, you know, it was definitely a hard ass lesson learned here, you know, because they didn't, you know, give it to just one particular industry. And you got to realize something too, you know, this in my state, in New Jersey, we were arresting 32,000 people a year for low level minor possessions, and of people look like me. Right now, what we also no one knew was when you took the use of force by police in the state of New Jersey, it turns out that people who look like me make up 80% of that. So the intentional targeting and tormenting people and communities of color was a thing in this state. And a lot of the people who's watched all still in the state. So they're not having the gumption to understand that there are so many other nuances. Hence why for us to get what we just of all
All right. Hey, Leo, you're breaking up pretty bad on that one. Let me cut in and we'll let you get
so I do want to say something about Texas real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's fucked up.
Okay, so here's what the situation in Texas right now is. There's obviously no legalization, so to speak. I'm sorry if it's windy. And there's also, but there is a loophole. There's what they have is these THC vapes, and they're Delta 8s and Delta 9s, and so we can have those, but we can't have dispensaries. And so that kind of blows my mind to see such a huge state that could profit so much and benefit so much from dispensaries not take that avenue. And that's all I wanted to say about that also.
Mark, Chance, it's so interesting because you kind of underscore the point, which is that as the government tries to regulate, tries to figure out what to do, what it does either intentionally or unintentionally is the cannabis industry is very well known for going around things. So if they put something in your place, they're going to go around and they're going to find another way to get the weed to the people because the people want their weed. I mean, it's just so obvious, and it's just such an easy way to look at it. The people will get their weed. They want it, and they will get their weed, and they're either going to get it a legal source or an illegal source. That's it.
Matt, wait. Matt
Sorry.
broke a major rule of my show. You got to use the word cannabis, Matt. Cannabis.
Oh, sorry.
You're letting people out there who don't like it, who already think it's weed.
Sorry, cannabis. Sorry.
Thank you.
It's just my shorthand among us, But
I'm gonna get to Leo, and then I'm gonna get to Ron, B, and Jenny. Let's go, Leo. What's up?
No, what I was going to say is that when you think about the way it's like the lessons learned, because we did a whole lot of lessons learned here, and part of that, and folks remember, New Jersey broke the record for the most, for the most people voting for this, for any state who did this through ballot referendum. We did it with 67% of the vote, Mark. Y'all did it with 60%. Okay. And so when you take those numbers and you look at, if you don't have a political calendar persuasion to your business strategy, you are screwed. Because we're having local elections going on right now. This is midterms this year for a lot of people. New York is picking a new governor. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, I think New York is picking a new governor and a new legislature at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things are factors that we have to mobilize the greater cannabis community here to understand. And that's all. I just wanted to add that part to it.
Thank you very much, Leo. So, Ron, tell us where you're from. What's your question or comment today?
I'm actually here in Virginia, and I mean, Leo and everyone else was just giving great information. I really didn't particularly have a question. I know I will be going for a license here in Virginia, and just high level, I know in terms of it being a competitive. We don't know. That'll happen in 2024. We don't know how the licensing strategy will be dealt out. But in preparation, just to what Leo was saying, having a political strategy involved in your campaign is vital. Being able to advocate and bring that support to your local, to the state, that's vital. And in all honesty, I know when I go for it, I'm gonna need some help. So I know Leo's the man. I know we some familiar people, and man, you're awesome, man.
I appreciate you, bro. I'm gonna tell you. I tell this story because I have to say this every time I see him. But about 5 years ago, Mark?
Leo, I think it's coming on 6.
Wow, Jesus.
Yeah.
So
CWCB Expo.
Yeah. So about 6 years, going on 6 years ago, at CWCB Expo,
New York, Javits Center.
At the Javits Center, Pop Brothers, they all pulled me in the back. I got yanked into the back of their booth. And this was right after we got. Damn, Mark, you right. No, it's 6 years. It is 6.
I know I'm right.
Right, because this was right after we got PTSD through here in New Jersey. And I like PTSD was the first mental health qualifying condition to be allowed. It was the first non-physical ailment to be allowed in the New Jersey medical marijuana program, right? So I'm fresh off of getting that done. And these fools see me at CWCB Expo. They yank me in the back of their booth, sit me down in those director-like chairs. I'll never forget this shit. And they grilled the hell out of me about, first of all, they were very proud of me, but they wanted me to understand what exactly I had just gotten myself into.
Right.
And what was the expectations of me, especially, when we were talking about, being a person of color, what I'm saying, what my assignment was. I mean, and I ain't gonna lie, I left that thinking, Jesus, I didn't realize I had these kind of eyes on me.
Yeah.
And so over these last 6 years, with all of the efforts that I've been putting in, because none of the things that they said was going to happen didn't happen. It all happened. And I didn't even have all this. It was all black when they were talking to me, right, Mark? I didn't have this. You know what I'm
I've
saying?
seen the year by year progression.
Right. And every
Well,
time we saw each other over the years, you know what I'm saying? They both grab me, you know what I'm saying? They tell me how proud of me they are, but they expect more.
Right.
And to be quite honest with you, being held to a certain level of accountability by your peers and those whom you hold in the highest esteem, it hits a little differently. You know what I'm saying? So when Mark says things to me like, I'm proud of you, bro, it hits a little bit differently because I know from what place that's coming from, and it lets me know it's a guide on for me in terms of how I move in the space, because you don't have the time to rest on your laurels. And if Mark and them are telling me that I'm doing good, then I know I'm doing good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're having an impact.
Yeah, exactly. And it's been like that. That's why every time we're around each other, I got to tell this story because, it was a very real. It's not a wake up call. It was like they sat my ass down in that chair and splashed cold fucking water in my face.
Well, you needed it because when I heard you speak that first time, I was moved. You know when you hear people speak or see something and it moves you. Well, when I get moved, I actually move. And I had to move right into your face and tell you what I told you because you were so passionate, so articulate, so aggressive yet passive somehow. Like that, I didn't understand it actually back then, and then getting to know your military background and all that. It just all starts to make sense. And then over the years, you've done and continue to do exactly what we thought you could. And yeah, you're not done yet.
No.
Hey man, you barely started. Okay, so let's get going.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I realized it is through activism is how the business revealed itself to me. And I realized real quick that number one, I'm going to have to become that which I've been screaming about. Number two, when I think about Black people, you know what I'm saying? We are not time appropriate in our fundamental understanding of this plant or this industry, evidenced by our representation. A lot of that is also self-inflicted, and so now what we have to do is we have to go beyond talking about social equity in hypotheticals and theory. We actually have to become the summation of the conversation.
Has to start happening.
The conversation, but the summation of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to get to work. Let's go.
Action. Right.
Action now. All right. Hey, B, I know we've talked before. What is your name? Tell everybody where you're from and you got a question or a comment.
I'm from Bryan. Oh, yeah, I'm from Bryan. I'm from California, and my name is Brian.
That's all right, Brian. We're all good. What's your question or comment?
I don't have any questions. I just want to
just tuning in.
Yeah.
Learning.
Yeah.
Are you registered to vote?
Yes.
All right. That's good. Are your friends registered to vote?
Is my what?
Are your friends?
Yes, I believe so.
Make sure they're all registered to vote. A young guy like you can make a big difference if you make sure anybody around you and hanging out is not registered.
Brian, I just want you to know that by you registering and vote is one thing, but we need you to be an active voter too.
Active voter. Okay.
And the thing is that by being an active voter, what you essentially do for me and every single veteran out there and every single person in the United States military, you are confirming our military service.
Oh,
That
okay.
is whether you and listen, if you don't vote, you're confirming my military service as well. Because I fought for you to have the freedom not to do it if you chose not to. It's the freedom of choice is what the confirmation of my military service is for.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just want you to always remember that. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, you confirm our military service every time you do or don't vote. But I prefer that you do.
Okay.
So thank you.
Can I just add on to what Leo said?
Yes, please.
You know, President Clinton said something to me in 2008. He said, "You're a young person. You have a lot more tomorrows than you have yesterdays. So why would you let people who have a lot more yesterdays than tomorrows vote and determine what your future is going to look like?"
Thank you. We have been saying that for a long time, that we got to get the vote them out, just like you voted them in. You can vote them out. And, you know, we'll talk about that on another show. B, thanks for joining us. I'm going to bring you back down into the audience. Same with Ron. Thank you very much, you guys.
Later, Ron.
Pleasure.
All right, bro. I'll see you later. I'll get with you soon.
All
right.
Get your contact, man.
Even everybody. And I know Jenny, let's see. What's up, Jenny? You had a question or comment before we get out of here?
Hey, Mark. I just wanted to say hi. I'm in LA, as you know. Good to see your face since I hadn't been in person for a while.
I know.
But I just wanted to pop in and see, you know, if I can add value where I can. And I'll probably pop out soon because I have the Amsterdam room. So.
Oh, well, good. Is that on Clubhouse?
Yeah. So
right.
I'm doing the LADCR's social equity coaching for operators. So that's kind of where I try to play in, is evening the playing field for people of color and equity applicants and those of us that look like us that have been here and should stay. So.
Awesome. I will. I'll be sure to ping me in there. I'll put my face up on there.
Would love to.
Thank you very much, Jenny. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. I want to thank you for joining us today on the Pop Brothers at Law live stream talk radio podcast, brought to you by Rocket Seeds. Yes, you can buy and ship and sell seeds and take them across state lines. The DEA agreed with the opinion letter the Pop Brothers at Law put out.
Y'all did that.
Before.
Yeah, yes, y'all said it first. Like
yes, we did.
Ago, Mark. Like y'all actually, I meant to tell you that. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Pop Brothers at Law were the first to say it. I gotta give props where props is due. They've been saying this shit for years. It's not. Right. It doesn't have THC. It's not illegal. Well, you was right, Mark.
You might need a hemp license to do the exporting, however, and importing. So before everybody just
there's always there you go.
So
we're always going to be careful.
We're still working through some of the details on this. You know, Leo, are you going to be in New York on next Wednesday evening?
Okay, but let's stop right there because, Matt, we're on a show and you guys can have a conversation whenever you want. And, you know, you guys, that's not what this platform is for. I don't want to know about your personal life and what you guys are going to meet for coffee or what. Let's do this. I want Leo Bridgewater. Tell everybody where they can find you, contact you on social media.
Absolutely. Everything, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of it is Leo Bridgewater. It's real simple. I'm also co-host of the Smoking Heroes podcast, along with my partner, Eugene Monroe. We also...
I haven't been on that.
Oh, no. We're filming now. Don't worry, bro. You on it. Yeah, you on. Oh, don't worry. We got you. And then you could also...
And I don't want to bring my brother, just me.
Yeah, you can find me at MJ Unpack this tomorrow. I'll be actually doing a one-on-one interview with Tremaine Wright, moderating a conversation, a fireside chat with Tremaine, with chair of the New York OCM at MJ Unpack. And then you could also find me at the CWCB Expo, June 2nd to the 4th at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. A gift for the entire audience. If you like, you can go on cwcbexpo.com, use the code Leo B22, and you'll get a free 3-day pass to the CWCB Expo, and you'll also get a 20% off of any of the other stuff that's going on, along with a discount on the after party events. Like, Mark, they're doing the yacht thing again this year, so it's about to be on it. Yeah, it's about to be on and popping again, bro.
Might have to see something about that. All right, Akoropa, where can people, or where do you want people to find you, or how can they help you with what you're doing and lend a hand, or just get involved?
They can find me via email, akoropa@mattcubanlaw.com. They can find me on LinkedIn, and they can help by, they have anyone who's interested, they should put us in contact. If they have any issues with the draft New York regulations, the open comment period ends May 31st.
Mm-hmm.
The state regulators have to respond to all of the comments that are submitted. So make your voice heard.
All right, Matt, I dare ask, do you know where people can find you on social media?
Mark, you're funny.
Matt,
Actually,
mattcubanlaw.com.
You can reach me at Matt Cuban Law. That's our website. And you can email me at Matt with 2 T's at mattcubanlaw.com. And come to our free. We have a small conference room in New York. Next week, we have a series of events. Mark has kindly put them down there at the bottom of the screen. We want to have people come. We want to provide information. We want to help people set the right expectations, like Leo and I were talking about earlier, so that you understand what this space is and what you need to do to succeed in it, which includes the political advocacy and the activism. Absolutely. It's really been critical for everyone I've seen who succeeded. They've always donated, spoken to city councilors, elected officials. You're active. You've got to be active. You've got to be against that old feeling that you don't want the government to know what you're doing. Now you want the government. Now you want to be in the government's face.
Mark, let me help you out real quick with something. Let me help you out real quick. For all y'all, before you even go at anybody about this, make sure you learn the difference between legislation and regulation.
Oh, yeah.
If you learn the difference, that'll help you to figure out who your beef is really with. Because a lot of you have a beef with your state assembly folks, your state senators, and you're confusing that beef with beefing with the regulators. And that's different. So learn the difference between regulation and legislation. And the way you learn the difference is you read them both, goddammit.
I love you, Leo. And with that, we're going to get out of here. But legislation and regulation, that's going to be the first song I write to bring back Schoolhouse Rock. Because that's it. Schoolhouse Rock is coming back. Okay? And with that, we're gonna get on out of here. Matt, I'll see you later. Akoropa, thanks for joining us. Leo, maybe I'll give you some credit when I bring back Schoolhouse Rock. We will see. My big brother's been working his ass off on a deal that litigation is happening, so he couldn't join us today. It's the Pop Brothers at Law live stream talk radio podcast every Thursday, noon Pacific time. We go live on 4 Facebook pages: YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, Instagram, Clubhouse. And we are going to be sponsored by Rocket Seeds. Go check out rocketseeds.com. You see me puffing on some West Coast Cure, dabbing on some the Puffweiser. Very good stuff in California. They're in shops everywhere. And if you see me do this, that's because we have a landlord that might not like the smell too much. And I use Spray 420. Great deodorizer. Gets rid of the smell instantaneously. Remember to tune in next week. And remember what we always say. I usually have my big brother say it because you listen to him more. Shut the fuck up when cops ask questions. Out.